This is something that I want to get into because of the super match rather, that happened last week between Sebastian Rivera and Stefan Micic. Now, what a super match is when a guy bumps up another weight class, and it's massive because, you know, it's a number one guy versus a number one guy. So Sebastian Rivera, of course, is the number one ranked guy at 125 pounds, just beat Spencer Lee about a month ago. He bumped up last week to wrestle Stefan Micic from Michigan, who's the number one guy at 133 pounds. Now, Micic handedly defeated Sebastian Rivera, but where this really stems from is from last season, whenever Bryce Meredith wrestled Seth Gross. Now, Seth Gross bumped up 133 pounds to 141. He's from South Dakota State University. He wrestled Bryce Meredith, and this was really one of the first super duels. This even, you know, inspired Jordan Burroughs to wrestle another Olympic champ, number one versus number one. And I want to get into which wrestlers could bump up and beat the guy at the next weight. So this is something I think could be really interesting is, you know, if these two teams wrestled, if these two teams dueled that are number one versus number one, if they bumped up, who would win? So, of course, we know 125 and 133. I'm just going to run down each of these weight classes and think, you know, who would win. We know that right now, Micic did beat Rivera, so that's really no discussion needs to be involved there. Micic did really well. If Micic now, if he bumped up, he is the number 9 pound for pound guy. And Rivera, actually, fun fact, Rivera is the only top ranked wrestler right now who is not in the top pound for pound in the country. So Micic, if he bumped up to wrestle 141 pounds, he'd be wrestling against Yianni Diakomahalis from Cornell. These guys are both undefeated right now, both 11-0, 16-0 respectively. Yianni's wrestled a little bit more this season. Yianni is number 5 pound for pound in the country. And I think, you know, with each of their styles, they're a little bit different, but I think that, you know, Micic has a little bit of lankiness to him, but I think Yianni is just a little bit more technical than Micic. And, you know, of course, with all these guys, they're obviously the top ranked guys in the country, so it's not like any of them are bad, and I'm not bashing any of them. However, I think Yianni's just a little bit more technical, so I would have to give that win to Yianni over Micic. So still no wins yet, bumping up a weight. Then, you know, Yianni, what if he bumped up a weight? He'd be wrestling Ashnault from Rutgers. Now, Ashnault is still undefeated as well. He is the number 10 pound for pound guy in the country right now. He is 22-0 right now, and has done, you know, really well this past season for Rutgers. Could be Rutgers' first ever national champion. Now, Yianni, I think, even though with the weight deficit, which of course you have to take into consideration with all of these, is the deficit that, you know, these guys are giving up, bumping up a weight class. But I think, you know, 41 to 49 is a little bit less dramatic. You're still lightweight. You're still, you know, you still have similar styles. However, even though I think Ashnault's a little bit more, I don't want to say dirty, but he's more aggressive is the term I'm looking for. I think Yianni still, that technicality that he has, you know, he wrestled, he just has a lot of mental toughness too. He wrestles those gritty guys, those tough guys that are always attacking him, but he finds a way to win. And of course, Yianni is a national champ. Ashnault, he hasn't been on that stage yet, and I think I have to give this win to Yianni. So Yianni is the first guy I think could bump up and beat the next guy. So who would Ashnault wrestle? Well, of course, if he'd be bumping up, he'd be wrestling Jason Nolf. And this is where it really gets tough because a lot of these Penn State guys, you know, Jason Nolf, the number 2 pound for pound guy in the country behind Bo Nickal. And, you know, Jason Nolf, he doesn't give up many points in any match in entire season. If Ashnault bumped up to wrestle him, you know, like I said, Ashnault is aggressive, super willing to attack. Jason Nolf's even more so ready to attack, and he doesn't take crap from anybody. He's going out there to pin. He's going out there to win. Sorry, Ashnault, but I got to give this one to Jason Nolf of Penn State at 100. He's 157 pounds, so I have to give it to him. And, of course, at 157, bumping up to wrestle Vincenzo. So this is kind of fun because now we're into the 4 horsemen of Penn State. they're all number one ranked guys from 57 to 97, excluding 184, of course, is Miles Martin. But if Nolf bumped up, he'd be wrestling Vincenzo Joseph. So these guys right now are both undefeated on the year, and they're both returning national champions. So these two have actually wrestled before. They've wrestled in like the junior world team trials in freestyle. Now freestyle is a little bit different. You're still wrestling each other, though, and Nolf did hand Vincenzo a loss. Vincenzo is the number 4 pound-for-pound guy in the country, but unless he can get a throw on Jason Nolf, who doesn't get thrown that often, I have to give this one to Nolf. So this is, it's going to be a tough match, but I have to ultimately give this one to Nolf. Going up from Vincenzo to Mark Hall. So this from Mark Hall, another undefeated guy this season. He's 22-0, wrestling Vincenzo. Mark Hall is the number 3 pound-for-pound guy in the country. So Vincenzo actually lost to Hall again in another freestyle tournament. But I think if Vincenzo can get a throw, he always gets those underhooks, those upper and underhooks that he has that he hit on Imar a couple of different times. I think if he can get that throw on Hall, he may be able to pull out a win. But Hall, he's really technical. He can, he was in a situation last week where he was taken down pretty much, and he still somehow got out of it and got the takedown against Ohio State last week. So I have to give the edge to Mark Hall just slightly, but I think this could go either way. So right now, the only win I still have, or the only wins I have, are Yianni bumping up and if Jason Nolf bumped up. But going into 174 to 184, which is Mark Hall bumping up to wrestle Miles Martin, undefeated right now. Martin is he's a bigger guy. He's pretty built. I think even compared to Mark Hall, Mark Hall is obviously he's a built guy. You always see him flexing after the match, which is pretty funny. But I think Miles has a little bit more meat on his bones, I guess. But I think Mark Hall is a little bit better. Hall's in the room competing with Bo Nickal, who of course beat Miles a couple years ago, or last year in that NCAA finals. So I have to give the edge to Mark Hall. Going into 184, this is fun because Miles Martin, what if he bumped up? Well, he'd be running into Bo Nickal. Now, these two have a pretty long history where they've wrestled each other like 9 or 10 times. The most recent time they met is at the 184-pound NCAA finals in 2018, whenever Bo Nickal pinned Martin for the national championship. And last season, Bo Nickal recorded 3 wins against Martin. So even though Martin, now he has beat Bo Nickal in the past. He beat him for a Big Ten championship, and he beat him for a national championship in 2017. But Bo is, I think right now, he's just so elite and so high in skill that I don't think Miles Martin could touch him anymore, even if he did bump up a weight. So now at 197 pounds, which is pretty much the last matchup, another undefeated guy, Bo Nickal, bumping up. What if he bumped up to heavyweight? Well, he'd be running into an undefeated, almost 30-0, Gable Stevenson. So Gable Stevenson, of course, is a freshman to Bo Nickal's senior, but Stevenson has a lot of weight on Bo. Bo, even when he's out there, he looks a little bit small compared to these other guys, even though he handles them like he weighs 197. I don't know what he weighs in at every week, but Bo just goes out there and wins. But what if he bumped up to heavyweight? If they were the same exact weight, I'd have to give it to Nickal, just based on Nickal's skill level, his technicality, his ability to always pull out wins. But Stevenson has like almost, he has 80, 90 pounds on Nickal. If Bo was able to wrestle really conservatively and, maybe hit a couple super ducks or hit some snaps, he may be able to pull out something there, maybe if he was able to turn him. But when you're wrestling a guy that's that much heavier than you, it's kind of tough. So this toss-up could go either way. What do you guys think? Do you think Bo Nickal could bump up and wrestle Gable Stevenson? And of course, Gable Stevenson can't bump up if we turned around the circle. He wrestled Sebastian Rivera, and I don't think that's very fair considering the huge weight deficit there. So what do you guys think? Leave your comment below on who could bump up and win the next weight class. Who could beat the #1 guy at the next weight class? I have Yianni winning, Nolf winning, Mark Hall winning, and possibly Bo Nickal. Leave your comments below. I thought this was really fun, and I really wanted to talk about this.